So Vern, with these new triple lens phone cameras like the Apple iPhone 11 Pro Max, wouldn't that just be all I ever need and not ever have to buy a DSLR or mirrorless camera? Let's check it out.
Click, 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 click and a pick it. Click, 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 click and a pick it. Click, 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 click and a pick it. Click, click, click.
So eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I want a new camera, don't you know? So when I was living in the States, they had a program with Verizon, and Verizon was a cell phone provider. And every 2 years, you could upgrade your cell phone with the latest, greatest. And maybe for a $500 to $800 cell phone, you would only pay, I believe it was like $200 to $300 for the upgrade cost. And for signing up for 2 years, they would absorb the rest of the cost for the phone. And that was a great deal. And so I remember looking forward to the new phone, and I was excited. I had my own business. I was restoring classic automobiles. I had my own shop, and I thought, yeah, I could justify writing off the expense for the new phone. It wasn't a problem. But after I closed my business and I moved out to Asia, and I realized what the money that we spent on things back there is so insane. But yet, here also, there's this drive to have this latest, greatest cell phone. And at the time when I needed a new phone, what they had for an option for a vlogging phone, which is what I was going to use it for, to vlog with, it was the Oppo F3 Plus. And this was, if I remember right, it was like a $700 phone, $800 phone. And I'm thinking, wow, that's so much money. I really don't want to spend that kind of money on a cell phone. But I kind of caved in because I justified. I thought, I'll use it for my videos. I'll be able to justify that. But I never really did use it for the videos, and now I've got this phone that I just use to connect to the internet. I don't use it for vlogging, and I barely use it for the camera. The camera is not that great in it. I thought it would be, but it's just not that great. So I kind of have maybe a $100 camera with a $200, $300 phone. And that's kind of how I look at it now. Okay, so if I were to look at the new Apple iPhone 11 and I were to break it down into two categories. One is the camera category. What is the value that I can find for the phone system itself? What is the value? And the closest thing that I can come to is a Panasonic Lumix for around $300. So the specs aren't exact. Some are better, some are worse than the iPhone camera specs, but it's very comparable for $300. So let's just value the camera system at $300. Then we have to pick the phone system. What is the value of that? And I think that I could get a comparable value phone system for around $500 or a little less. It regardless of the camera system, just the phone system. And so combined, that's about a $800 value. And so you're paying you're paying $1,200 to $1,500 US dollars for the US value, and you're paying up to $2,000 US dollars outside with the extra taxes in some of the foreign countries. And so the reason I'm breaking this down is, what can you get for a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, and can you buy a cell phone on top of it for the same money that you're going to spend for that new iPhone? Let's figure it out. Okay, so I'm thinking of 3 different cameras that would be similar to what I would buy if I had this kind of money to spend. So roughly $1,000 is what I'm choosing to spend on a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. So let's see what we can buy for that. Okay, so the iPhone camera is only 12 megapixel, and I can buy a Canon 80D 24 megapixel with the 18 to 55 kit lens option for about $900 US dollars. Now the other option is the same body with the 18 to 135 kit lens for $1,000 US dollars. Now Nikon has the D5600, which is also a 24 megapixel camera, and with the same lens options, it's about the same amount of money, so around $900 to $1,000. Now the last one, Sony has the A6400, and they offer with the 16 to 50 millimeter lens option for about $1,150. And the nice thing about the Sony is it's a mirrorless camera, and it also has 4K video, which I don't believe that the other two have. And so the iPhone does have a 4K, but it doesn't have nearly the megapixels that these cameras have. So for $1,000, you could buy a little over $1,000. You could buy the Sony camera and have an amazing low light performance camera. And the thing with the DSLRs is you aren't limited to any style. You could shoot any style depending on the lens that you put on these cameras. They're fully outfittable with interchangeable lenses, where the iPhone isn't. You're limited. So if you're going to spend $1,500 on the iPhone plus, you're limited to the style of shooting that you can do. You can't shoot all the different styles because you're fixed on one focal length pretty much. You do have a zoom, yeah, but when you try to zoom things in, you create aberrations and defects in your photo. So a zoom is good and it's bad. It's kind of a give and take. You're not using a full crystal clear zoom like you would on a really expensive lens or a really high-end lens. You're very limited. So all right, so what I was trying to get at earlier is optical zoom is far superior to a digital zoom, okay? And so to sum things up, if I were to buy a semi-professional really good camera, I could do it for just around $1,000, just maybe a little bit more if I had to. And I would have something that I would not be limited to shooting any of the photography styles. I would be able to interchange those lenses with any type of lens or style that I wanted to shoot. And that would be very different than what the iPhone camera can offer you, okay? And I would also have a DSLR or mirrorless body that would probably last about 5 years, even if I worked it really hard or longer. And then I would have lenses that could last me a lifetime if I took care of them, and I could interchange those to a newer body when it came time to upgrade. And so if you compare that to what you're spending on your iPhone style phone for $1,500, within 2 years you're going to feel like it's so outdated that you need a new one. And then once you put that old cell phone down, your thinking is it's junk. It's not really good anymore because it's not as new as the fastest, latest, greatest thing. And so that's where the kind of the mentality goes in. So now you have a 2-year-old phone that you paid $1,500 for that really doesn't have that much more value. Maybe you can get $500 used value, but other than that, it's diminishing rapidly. Whereas if you buy the DSLR camera for the really good camera, the real camera, not the iPhone supposed real camera, you'll have a better investment, you'll have more fun, you'll have more things that you can do with it, you're not as limited, and then maybe you spend $500 on, say, an iPhone 7 Plus off the Apple clearance rack, or you find an equivalent phone that just does the storage and the internet type things that you need to be using it for. So unless you're like the extreme person and that you need every ounce of what an iPhone could do, maybe you're gaming or you're doing something that you're going to push that phone to the limit, which very few people are, then I think that money is not really wisely spent. If you want a good camera, and if you're wanting to just get on the internet and surf around and do some things with that phone, I think you're better off buying a real camera and buying just a phone that's good enough to use in the internet. All right, so that's my 2 cents. And if that's helped you, throw me a like, consider subscribing. leave me some thoughts of what you think. Am I crazy? Did I make sense? Am I spending your money wisely? And let me know it, and we'll think about that together, and we will also grow together. Thank you.